Today we're going to talk about cloud computing decision making, right? In this word, everything that is connected somewhere. Once upon a time, the symbol that you see of the cloud used to be something that would basically say it's being operated remotely, right? On a remote server somewhere, on a remote machine somewhere, right? It was basically connected via some kind of a remote service, right? Somewhere on the internet, possibly, among many other different things. So what it says is it's not locally there, it is somewhere little far away. So let's look at some cloud computing decisional challenges from the case. So cloud computing is possibly one of the biggest managed services that we see nowadays, right? So what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is the delivery of different services through the internet, including data storage, servers, databases, networking, software. So oftentimes when you try things like Microsoft 365, what you're doing is you're saying, or Google Drive, you're saying that rather than storing these terabytes of data or all these large documents on your computer, you have it linked somewhere. It's resting somewhere. Its domicile is somewhere in the cloud that you can access, log in with your credentials, and then access those services, right? So you don't have to really carry things. You don't have to worry about updates and upgrades. Everything is done very much like when we go on Google search. You don't have Google on your computer. You just type google.com and it takes you there, or amazon.com, it takes you there, or netflix.com takes you there, or ChatGPT or openai.com, right? And it takes you there. So everything from ChatGPT, Netflix, Amazon are hosted on cloud platforms as managed services, which basically means it's managed by the technology vendor, right? For us, right? So this is the business selling to, if they're selling it to us, that's business to consumers, B2C. If they're selling it to other businesses, it's B2B, right? So we are the businesses, whoever is buying or using ChatGPT services, Netflix services, Amazon services, ChatGPT, Netflix, Amazon are vendors, and we, or the other companies that are buying the services, are clients or customers. So the growth of this cloud provisioning market, or the projected market growth, has been from $47.78 billion in 2022 to a projected growth, or projected size, of $144.81 billion by 2030. But why? Firstly, it is affordability of resources. You don't need to constantly keep upgrading things. It's very much becoming like a subscriber-based model, right? Or even pay once and use many. Is affordability of resources. You don't need to constantly upgrade your own infrastructure, your own RAM, your own storage. You can have everything resting somewhere else. And then, of course, economies of scale. You want to suddenly load 10 terabytes of data, rather than running around and trying to find, where am I going to store that? How secure is that going to be? They will provide you the services, right? A great example is what Amazon Web Services does, right? It allows you the economies of scale by offering you a variety of different services out there, from serious analytics to storing things, to running sites, to doing expensive analytics, among many different things. And of course, AI-based solutions that require incredible amounts of resources in the background that we don't have, but the minute we use cloud computing, it's available to us. So what are the major types of managed cloud services? Let's go through them quickly. One is, of course, you may have heard of all of these in many different forms, called software as a service, or SaaS, or SaaS. This refers to delivering software applications over the internet, typically through a subscription model. The provider manages the infrastructure, the platform, the software, very much like we were talking about, whether you're talking about Amazon or ChatGPT or Netflix, while the client, which is we or other companies, we access the application via a web browser API or an app right? So whether we're talking about Google Maps or ChatGPT, examples of software as a service. So they're providing you with software as a service. Next level is something called platform as a service, where you can access multiple different software. So software as a service is a single software. ChatGPT is basically a large language model software that you're accessing. Google Maps is a mapping software that you're accessing. Platform as a service basically allows you to run multiple different software, right? So cloud-based platform for developers to build, run, and manage applications. The provider manages the underlying infrastructure and operating system, while the client focuses on application development and deployment. Examples would be AWS, Amazon Web Services, Azure, which is Microsoft's offering. So what they do is they're saying, we're going to provide you the platform on which you can actually develop your software. You can develop different things. You can also use some of our stuff and run them along. Then comes infrastructure as a service, which is IaaS. This delivers fundamental computing resources like servers, storage, networking over the cloud. The client has control over the operating systems, application, and data, but the provider or the vendor manages the physical infrastructure. Things like Google Cloud Compute, IBM Cloud. So what you're saying is you can offer multiple different things. You can have your entire IT department, the entire IT infrastructure as a service that is on the cloud. So each cloud-based managed service offers varying degrees of control, coordination, and convenience, allowing clients to choose the model that best suits their needs and expertise. Now comes the storyline in the case. Now that we understand that cloud computing is, once again, quick rehash what we've mentioned, exactly the same wording, delivery of different services through the internet using storage, servers, databases, networking software, whether you're talking about SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS. So SaaS, software as a service, platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service, that's cloud computing. The storyline is about this client called Phone, a telecom billing software, which is the client, which has to navigate the complexities and opportunities presented by cloud computing. Now, mind you, companies go through all the time. How much should we manage in-house? How much should we use as a managed service over the cloud? So Phone's commitment has always been to innovation. So it's a large telecom company or a telco. Innovation and customer centricity, as evidenced by its evolution towards a multi-cloud, inter-cloud architecture. So they're saying multi-cloud means multiple managed services providers, right? Ensuring that it remains at the forefront of the cloud services industry. And Phone's journey begins in the pre-cloud era, where it provided customized on-premise, also known as on-prem, billing solutions for telecom companies or telcos, right? So once upon a time, it used to build everything in-house. The big question is, as it's realizing technology is changing very, very quickly, a lot of stuff requires incredible amounts of hardware investments, software investments at higher and higher frequencies. Why not move towards a subscription-based model? So now we talk about the evolution of Phone's cloud decisions. So Phone was using an in-house development structure, right? And this was a spoke model, that where they would pull different services from many different vendors and then bring everything in-house. And then develop it and integrate it. That was turning out to be very costly and complex, as every client solution required unique customization support. Now, with the emergence of cloud technology, Phone shifted to a hub model, centralizing its services on a cloud platform, right? This allowed them for easier management, scalability, cost savings, right, for both Phone and its clients. So very much like what you use, whether you're using Canvas or you're using Microsoft Active Directory, you're moving it into a cloud-based hub. So Phone adopted a cloud provisioning continuum strategy. offering clients a range of service models, right? So their clients were other companies that use their telephone services or telecom services, their mobile services and so forth, and even individuals. So now they could create a continuum, right, offering a variety of service models from in-house management to fully managed cloud services. So they were basically a middleman, right, or a middle person. What they were doing is they were saying, tell me what you need. I'm going to allow you to build a connection to the right set of managed services. This flexibility allowed Font to cater to diverse clients' needs and preferences. As this happened, they started something called a contact to contract process, right? A sales-driven approach, because you had to sell this managed service idea as a middle person. That outlined Font's proactive approach towards customer engagement, from start by identifying needs to contract negotiation, which required a collaborative and iterative approach. But they also realized it isn't as simple as it sounds. There was a trilemma in the works, right? So dilemma is when you have a conflicting issue with two factors. Trilemma is conflicting issues with three factors. There was an inherent tension between control. Who controls what? How much does Font control? How much do Font's clients control? How much coordination would it need? And how much convenience would you require in your cloud provisioning? So Font's expertise and understanding of this trilemma enable them to guide their clients towards choosing the right and the optimal solution. So what are some of the cloud-based managed service models? Of course, the one that is our very traditional set is have everything in-house or on-prem. There, in terms of control, the client has direct control over data, services, security, compliance. Support and problem resolution are handled internally, right? But it makes it very, very complex. Coordination can be challenging due to potential complexity and reliance on in-house expertise. Convenience, custom updates and configurations are possible, but maintaining your expertise and constantly getting new resources can be very demanding. Then you can have it external. You can have public single cloud or multi-cloud or hybrid. There, control varies depending on the specific arrangement. Infrastructure and or application management can be shared between the client and the provider. So you manage some things, I manage some things, right? Vendor manages something, or the provider manages something, and the client manages certain things. Coordination can be simplified by leveraging the provider's expertise and resources, but requires very, very clear objective delineation, right? Which is separation of responsibilities. Who exactly does what? What happens if that doesn't work? Then, of course, convenience offers flexibility and scalability. This is having this hybrid setup, but potential for cloud management leakage, right? Which is how easily or how convenient, what happens if convenience fails, right? And responsibility ambiguity, who therefore is responsible if multiple third parties are involved? Then, of course, you have fully managed by provider. Example is ChatGPT. When we are typically signing up with ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Anthropic, right? Claude by Anthropic, mainly I'm talking about AI service providers. What you're doing is, because it's incredibly expensive to invest in these GPUs and these algorithms and the data that would take like petabytes of space, right? You have it fully managed by the provider. There, the control is such that you have to relinquish control over the provisioning and management of software and data services to the provider. In terms of coordination, it reduces complexity as the provider handles coordination between services. But in terms of convenience, it of course frees up client resources and reduces the need for in-house expertise, but can be expensive and lead the vendor to be locked in. Lock-in is a mechanism where you are so locked into that, this particular service provider that you really can't escape. You are tied to this person and they are very, very dependent. So fully managed, of course, has its certain prerogatives and privileges, but of course you lose control and can become very expensive and can lock you in. So how do you therefore figure out your contact to contract process, right? So contact is first time you contact till you sign the dotted line. You need to identify your customer needs. So FON proactively monitors the telecommunication sectors to identify potential clients who might benefit from the cloud services. They engage in initial contact and prioritize potential accounts based on their needs in alignment with FON's offerings. They explore the options. FON now engages in detailed discussions with potential clients to understand what are your specific business problems and what are the solutions that would give you the best service provisioning that you need. This involves high-level and technical meetings to assess needs and identify opportunities for improvement. Then they outline the solutions. You can have many different solutions. Now they will offer tailored IT solutions based on the client's needs, including technical specifications, service level agreements, cost estimates, working closely with the clients to build business cases and identifying potential risks. And then, of course, they actively procure this formalization with a formal proposal outlining exactly what the solution is, pricing, timelines, all these relevant details. They compete with other potential providers to secure the contract, and finally, you validate, select, and negotiate. The client now will evaluate the proposals and select a provider. Contract negotiations will include further refinement, it's iterative again, of the solution and pricing to align with the client's budget and requirements.